Hello and welcome to the Raw review here on Wrestling with Regret. As you can tell from the sound of my voice, I'm still overcoming a bit of a cold, so I apologize for the shitty quality of my voice, but I'm going to try and push through with this one. It is the final episode of Raw before Crown Jewel, and a quick programming note, like the last couple of Saudi Arabia shows they've been putting on, I am choosing to not watch or review the show this Thursday. However, in its place, that day will be my first 2K20 live stream, and it's a charity live stream to boot. It's going to start about 9:30 in the morning Pacific time. I'm finally cracking open 2K20. I've had it for over a week now, but I've barely played it at all. But I'm going to be diving into the My Career mode and the Showcase mode as well, along with whatever else suits my fancy. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, it will be for charity. Every super chat I receive during the stream will go to FitOps, which happens to be the charity John Cena is working with right now. It helps train military veterans to become personal trainers and small business owners. So once again, it's happening this Thursday, 9:30 in the morning Pacific time. It's going to go for a lot longer than my usual live streams have been. Those usually been about 2 hours or so. This one's going to go much longer because I want to explore more of the new WWE game, and I hope to encounter some of those sweet glitches I've been seeing on social media for the last couple of weeks. So with that out of the way, on with the review. Paige opens up Raw. We haven't seen her in quite a while. She brings out the Kabuki Warriors, the women's tag team champions, and the team that she used to manage up until around the time they turned heel, did Asuka and Kairi Sane. So in kind of a way to finalize and really make concrete the heel turn, this is a whole segment where the Kabuki Warriors turn heel on their former manager. As Paige is cutting a promo, though, you can hear someone on commentary next to their microphone. Someone's popping open a cold one as she's talking, which I thought was pretty hilarious. So Kairi and Asuka keep taking the mic from her, and ultimately Asuka does the poison mist gimmick in Paige's face. Although Paige can't bump or anything, she can't like take a kick or anything, so she just like goes, oh, my eyes, oh, ow, it hurts, it burns. And that's pretty much all she does. Kind of an awkward transition from the green mist to when Becky Lynch shows up for the first match of the night as she takes on Kairi in non-title action. This is a great opening match. I think we got to see a lot of Kairi here that we haven't really gotten to see since she's been called up. Like she's been good in small doses in the tag team scene with Asuka, but rarely have we had a chance to really see her shine in a singles capacity for the last several months or so. But ultimately, Becky wins with the disarm her. Good opening match. R-Truth makes his way to the ring next. He's interviewed about what happened last week when the Singh brothers, the Bollywood boys, took the 24/7 title from him. So he does some goofy shtick where he puts on some glasses because he's seeing double with them now. Buddy Murphy interrupts and says, you will not forget him after this match. But it's a pretty forgettable match, though, because a couple of minutes into it, we all of a sudden see the Bollywood boys and the League of Jobbers running circles around the ring as they're chasing after the 24/7 championship. Truth goes outside and does a couple laps with them, gets back in the ring, eats a knee from Buddy, and that's all she wrote. Murphy wins the match. We get another AO promo where they promise victory for the sake of their legacy and violence for the sake of violence. I really dig that tagline. I hope they use it more. We go from one promo to another one, this time with the Street Profits in the ring. They talk about their big win last week against the OC. They say they want the smoke. They celebrate in the crowd. Not really much of a promo. Of all the times they've had to talk on the microphone, that was probably the weakest of the bunch. But I will say, the phrase, we want the smoke, is definitely over because they got a few chances for that during their promo. We get a rematch from last week as Ricochet takes on Drew McIntyre, only this time the leaders of their respective teams at Crown Jewel are in their corners. So Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart are in the corner of Ricochet, and Ric Flair is in Drew's corner for the second week in a row. Really cool to see these guys getting this kind of individual endorsement from these legends, Hogan and Flair. Drew beats down on Rico for a very long time and mocks Hogan while he's doing it. He drops the leg on Ricochet at one point, does like the flexing and everything. You'd almost think they're gearing up for a Hulk Hogan in-ring return, but I kind of hope not. Anyway, Ricochet makes a comeback. He goes for a 450, but Drew gets out of the way. He rolls through it and walks right into an RKO out of nowhere from Randy Orton. And oh my God, the bump Ricochet took on that RKO was absolutely ridiculous. If that was, you know what, the match ends in a DQ, but what a hell of a way for the match to end in a DQ in that kind of manner. Really fun stuff. Backstage, the OC encounter Umberto Carrillo, and AJ tells Umberto, hey, that match you had with Seth Rollins last week was impressive, but if you really want to make an impact, you got to go against me tonight, and so we're going to have that later on. In a match with some local sports team flavor, you have the Viking Raiders taking on a couple of local talent dressed as the Chicago Cubs, in particular Rizzo and Bryant. That's Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant of the Cubs. They're in St. Louis on this night, and the Cubs are one of the biggest rivals of the St. Louis Cardinals. That is all the context you need for this match if you don't follow baseball. Although I do find it odd, though, that the Viking Raiders, I guess, are the Cardinals proxies in this matchup, but they're wearing Colorado Rockies colors. Anyway, it's a big squash match. In another rematch from last week, Sin Cara taking on Andrade, but Sin Cara's not shown up alone. He's brought his own female backup to counteract Zelina Vega, the masked wrestler Catalina, aka Catalina Garcia, a recent NXT signee. So she comes out there and does the shtick with Sin Cara during his entrance. It's a much shorter match than last week, and Zelina gets involved again, but this time Catalina does get involved. She catches Zelina, swings her into the barricade, but in that distraction, Andrade does a dirty roll-up to beat Sin Cara once again. Well, that was sure pointless, wasn't it? I think that if you're going to bring somebody out there to kind of be the counteracting to the heel manager, then you kind of have to win. But in this case, it didn't add anything to it at all. It just made Sin Cara look like a dope for bringing his own backup and it backfiring on him. Natalya and Charlotte Flair joined forces to take on the Iconics up next. Very interesting about Natalya and Charlotte because they've been feuding on and off for years, even going as far back as NXT, but apparently this is the first time they've ever actually teamed up was on this night. But it's never really given a reason as to why they're teaming up. There's no rhyme or reason for it, at least as far as I can tell from what we're seeing from TV. So why they're together? Reasons. The blonde ladies win decisively, but it makes you wonder why they're even teaming in the first place. We get a backstage interview by a fired up Seth Rollins. He talks about his match with Erick Rowan up next, along with his fight with the Fiend Bray Wyatt later in the week at Crown Jewel. We then go to that next match. Falls count anywhere as Rollins takes on Rowan. And speaking of fired up, Seth gets a lot of fire in his pyro during his entrance. The two fight all over the place. They fight in the ring, up the stairs, to the concourse area, into the merch stand. Like every time they wrestle in the concourse, there's got to be a spot in the merch stand. It seems like that's kind of the rule now. Anyway, they go back down to the ring after the commercial break. They go to the announce table area, backstage. The match ends when Seth hits Rowan with a stomp on the ladder, and then shades of halftime heat between The Rock and Mankind. Seth makes a crew member turn on the forklift nearby, and they pin Rowan with the forklift and the pallet. Luckily, we don't get the illusion-breaking shot of the camera perspective going down on Rowan as it's lowering, but it lowers onto him. Seth stands on top, pins, and wins. It was a pretty entertaining match. We get another brooding promo by Aleister Black. Then we've got AJ Styles taking on Umberto Carrillo in non-title action. Talk about a great first couple of weeks for Umberto. You know, back-to-back matches against Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, two of objectively the best overall workers in the company, period, especially, Raw. And Umberto looks good here. I think AJ makes him look really good. Ultimately, AJ wins with the calf crusher. Then afterwards, he goes for a handshake, faves him, and Umberto slaps him in the face. AJ hits him with a Styles Clash for his efforts. Then the OC are about to really pick the bones when the Street Profits show up. They want the smoke, and they're getting it. This rivalry between these two teams clearly not over yet. A six-man tag match, I'm sure, looming in the distance. In your final segment of the evening, you have the King's Court, or rather the Divorce Court, between Rusev and Lana. It's hosted by Jerry Lawler, who knows a thing or two about divorces. Rusev comes out very sharp dressed. He's all smiles and handshakes. Lana shows up and airs her grievances with Rusev, saying that all he wanted was sex. Sex here and there and everywhere. Sex in a box, sex with a fox. And all he wanted was to have kids. But then all of a sudden she changes her tune and saying, no, Rusev cheated on her. And he goes, what? Great reaction by Rusev there too. So Rusev denies it, says that Lashley is talking shit, and then Lashley interrupts, and he's not wearing a suit like he was about 5 minutes ago before the segment aired, and they has fight. Rusev is, he's standing taller in the fight. He takes off his wedding ring, shoves it in Lashley's mouth. Lana tries hitting Rusev with the kendo stick, but it has no effect. But in the distraction, Lashley hits a low blow, a slap by Anna, running dick kick city by Lashley, and Rusev finally topples down in a heap. The final visual of the show is Lashley violently and aggressively making out atop a fallen Rusev who is clutching his dick and balls in pain. Such good shit, pal. Look, I don't know what you want me to say about this segment, honestly. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing ever. I'm not going to say this thing has no place in WWE because, let's face it, like, this is something, that happens in real life. There's hardships in marriages. There's love triangles. There's love triangles in wrestling. It's not to say this thing is completely outside the realm of possibility. It is something that's this is a very Jerry Springer segment, this whole thing was. Like, plucked from the history books of the Attitude Era. Like, I get that. I'm not saying it's like the worst thing because I'd say it's acted fairly well. Even though Lana gave like 3 or 4 different explanations as to why she did what she did, I think the acting by everyone involved is okay. The thing is, I just don't think it really moves me in either direction. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing ever, but I'm also not going to say this thing was like riveting television. It is, however, doing its job because I am curious as to what happens next. Like, I'm not really invested in it, but I am like, okay, you have my attention, Rusev and Lana and Lashley. Let's see how this all plays out. It's like, what's the worst that could happen, you know? My final grade for this week's Raw is a C-. I'll give them credit where it's due. For the last couple of weeks since the draft has come and gone, Raw has done a fairly good job showing a wide swath of their talent from week to week. There's been a bit of overlap, that's to be expected though, but I think the people they have been showing either in long matches or even fleeting moments like the runaround during the 24/7 match that was invading the R-Truth Buddy Murphy match. So you're kind of getting a sample of a lot of the different talent that's there on Raw currently. I mean, could it be better? Sure, but I mean, over 2 weeks, 6 hours of content, they've done a pretty good job showing a lot of people. I think as a go-home show to a pay-per-view in Crown Jewel was kind of weak. I think their hands are tied because honestly, the hard reset into making sure the brands are very different couldn't have come at a worse time in relation to the build for Crown Jewel, because so many of those matches are inter-brand now, especially, the Universal title match, the tag team gauntlet, even Lesnar Velasquez has a Raw guy involved in Rey Mysterio, so there's a lot of different cross-pollination with the brands, which makes, trying to adequately promote the show at this point a little bit difficult. So I can imagine their hands are tied for that. So yeah, not that I'm going to watch the show, but I would at least like to see them try and work harder making the effort, but I understand why it wasn't that good. But overall, there's a lot of rematches. The Sin Cara Catalina thing was a bit of a head scratcher for me. Like, why are you going to debut her as like the lady muscle to Sin Cara if she doesn't come through in the clutch? It's just, one of those kind of head scratcher things. But overall, yeah, I'd say the show was kind of in the middle of the road for me. But let me know what you thought about Raw this week in the comments section below, and be sure to give it a letter grade by going to the iCard in the corner of your screen. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.